Hey guys, and thank you for listening to the Campus Safety Voices podcast. My name is Amy Rock, and I am Senior Editor for Campus Safety. Each year, Campus Safety has a Director of the Year Awards program that recognizes K through 12, higher ed, and hospital police chiefs, security directors, emergency managers, or heads of security and/or public safety who demonstrate outstanding leadership skills, ingenuity, and selflessness. We name a winner from each sector at one of our campus safety conferences. The nomination materials we receive for each finalist are chock full of notable accomplishments. To give the finalists more deserved recognition, we like to chat with them further to highlight a few of their most impressive accomplishments or achievements they are especially proud of. I spoke with one of the K through 12 finalists, Luke Williams, who is Police Chief of Pinellas County Schools in Florida. Chief Williams spoke with me about how he's been able to impactfully convey law enforcement's role within the school system to the community served, how he partnered with local police chiefs and the Pinellas County Sheriff to create a collaborative agreement following the murder of George Floyd, how he's been able to improve officer morale during a time dubbed the Great Resignation, and lastly, two very special initiatives called the Men and Women in the Making programs, which focus on role modeling and life skills. Here's our discussion. Be sure to subscribe to Campus Safety's YouTube channel and like or leave a comment on our videos, or subscribe to our Campus Safety Voices podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave a review. As Police Chief for Pinellas County Schools, in one of your nomination letters that were submitted by your colleagues, someone had said that you have successfully and impactfully conveyed law enforcement's role within the school system to the community served. What are some ways you've been able to do that?
Well, just by talking with the community and with the school district employees, to include the school board, the area superintendents, the superintendent, and the associate superintendents. And essentially with Pinellas County Schools and having worked in a municipality, I worked for the city of St. Petersburg for 33 years and I retired from there. So slightly different, and I've worked with the schools and I've managed and supervised SROs over the course of the years. And I thought I had a pretty good idea of what the school relationship with the municipalities were. But I was only looking at the tip of the iceberg with everything that's done. So being able to come in and realizing that the school boards and the superintendent's mission is to educate our children and to keep them safe and have a safe learning environment. When you're dealing with the policing aspect of it, we tend to look at safety as well. We should, in places where the school districts really wouldn't look in the past. So being able to communicate why we want to put safety measures in place, why we do things a certain way, why we should plan and have our rules and our policies in addition to the district policies that are in place for the protection of the officers as they do their jobs, but most importantly, to make sure there's continuity and there's a framework with which to work within when dealing with our students and with our staff. So as a result of that, there's been a number of opportunities for me to speak with the community, speak with the school staff, the district staffs, to talk about things such as arrest. And in times past, there was quite a number of arrests for situations in which law enforcement should have not been called. So we have a code of conduct for our student code of conduct. And typically those are issues that the school administrator should be dealing with. And we wanted to try and make sure that the law enforcement were not thrust into situations that are better suited for the school administrators. And that's been something that we've been working on before I came to the school district. And we continue to do that to make sure that our children are having the most opportunities to be in the classroom, to learn in a safe environment. So I've had a number of community Zoom meetings, in-person meetings. I actually attend all of our school board meetings to make sure, first and foremost, that the communication is had in a safe environment and that everybody, no matter what you're speaking about, has that same level of protection and security. But at the same time, making sure that the district and that our parents and that our students understand that the officers that I select and that we place in our schools are there to assist you, not to arrest you. And it's very important that we share with the community and with some school board members, to be frank with you, that we just don't pick any officers and stick them in our schools, because there's a lot of responsibility that goes with the positions that you are, the impacts that you're going to have with the children. And I am super big on mentoring. And I think this is a very, very good opportunity for officers to build relationships where kids are attracted to them rather than being repelled from them. So that's part of the thing that I like and that I've enjoyed a lot, being able to take my law enforcement experience from the outside and now having the law enforcement responsibility within the district to be able to mesh those two together. And I've seen quite a bit of success with that.
I like what you said about attending school board meetings, because I think it just shows that police officers are so much more interested in other school stuff that's not just directly related to policing. And you're a member of this community as well, and you want to be, in the know of everything that's going on at schools, even if it's not directly related to, your line of work necessarily.
Absolutely. I have 3 children that are all adults now that all came through the Pinellas County school system. I came through the Pinellas County school system, as did all my siblings, my wife, her siblings. And hopefully within the next several years, I have my granddaughter within the system as well. So it's personal. I just want to make sure that all our kids have a fair opportunity of being able to learn in a safe environment.
Yeah, and I think I live in the town that I grew up in as well. And I think having, people leading the schools or the town that are from there just gives them a little more credibility in that they understand the inner workings of the community as well. So it's definitely beneficial for everyone.
And I've enjoyed being able to talk with the community and let them understand that from a law enforcement standpoint and from a district standpoint, we basically have the same goals, and we do have the same goals. So we've had an interagency agreement that's between all our law enforcement jurisdictions here in Pinellas County. And Pinellas County, just so you know, it's the smallest county in the state of Florida, but it's the most populated. And so there's 24 different municipalities that are in Pinellas County. So our law enforcement community works very well together because we've been forced to, with hurricanes and those types of things. So we have a police standards council that I was honored to act as the past chair. And we actually look at policies and procedures. We help select the SROs so that we have the right people from one end of the county to the other, and we're consistent in how we're selecting them. So I can say about the interagency agreement was an opportunity for us to talk about different things, such as when will we interview a child in class or in school? What are some of those prohibitions and we want to avoid doing that? How do we approach situations where we have to engage with our students? How do we do it in a professional way so that there's not a large presence in the school where people know what's going on? So there's a number of different ways we talk about the continuum. And if you do have to deal with a student, how do you do that in a most productive way? And how do you do it using the least amount of corrective actions, so to speak, as you can? So even if it's something like an officer calling a parent and saying, your child had this problem today and we've been working through it. And so rather than going from step 1 to step 30, you can, stop in between and say, hey, maybe I'll call a parent and see if we can do something special, do something different. And maybe the 2 of us or the group of us can approach this issue differently.
Right. And I think the last couple of years, from people that I've spoken to in similar roles as yours, have been particularly difficult for school police following the murder of George Floyd and the many calls to either refine or completely eliminate police presence in schools. And you were saying that you partner with local police chiefs and the Pinellas Sheriff to create a collaborative agreement. Can you kind of speak to the importance of that agreement and also some of its main points? Like, how did you work to kind of combat the thought that people think that police shouldn't be in schools?
Okay, well, you mentioned George Floyd, and again, having worked previously in St. Petersburg, working very closely with Sheriff Galtieri and with the other police chiefs in Pinellas County, we actually looked at the George Floyd murder and decided that, you know, as a group, we need to make sure that all our policies and the way we're interacting with not only our students, but our citizens in general, that there are things that we can do to make sure that we're being leaders in not only innovation, but community relations. So basically, we looked at the 8 can't wait criteria, and it had 8 main categories that basically dealt with a requirement for officers to de-escalate. And so we have de-escalation training and all these 8 categories. Let me just preface it and say that to our, I don't want to say surprise, but thankfully, these 8 suggestions that were made, they were already in all of our policies. Now, there were some that needed a minor tweaks, but then, but to say that you shouldn't shoot at a moving vehicle, those had already been in our policies too. The ban on chokehold and strangleholds. Again, I worked for 33 years at St. Petersburg, and we were never able to do strangleholds and chokeholds. So it was just common sense type of measures that we could take that would make our jobs easier. So again, a requirement to de-escalate. So officers need to de-escalate when they're dealing with our children, when they're dealing with the citizens, and to have a use of force continuum that basically says, if this person approaches you this way, this is the level or the amount or the type of force that you should be able to use. And it's a continuum that goes both ways. Again, the ban on the chokeholds and the strangleholds, a requirement to give a warning before using deadly force. Some of these sound like simplistic and that it's common sense type, but there were agencies around the country that didn't have these policies in place. Again, the restriction on shooting at or from a moving vehicle, simply because you may incapacitate a driver doesn't mean that car is going to stop. It makes it worse. You may have a driverless vehicle. We want to exhaust all the reasonable means necessary or available for an officer before they use deadly force. And I think most importantly, I think that through George Floyd, we found that officers need to have a duty to intervene. If they see something that's going on that's wrong, that's against policy, they need to intervene, even if it means pulling someone off of someone. And then finally, we want to continue to have our comprehensive reporting that we have as it relates to our interactions with our students and with the citizens. So that was something that I'm proud that we were able to show that we were already ahead of the game, so to speak, when it came to those different policies. But the interagency agreement, it talks about also the requirements on reporting. It is an agreement between the school district and local law enforcement that says, you know, if there's something threat in the school, or if there needs to be a threat assessment, it makes sure that we have the threat assessment teams and just a number of different points in it that make sure that we're being consistent in how we address issues with our students.
Yeah, and with so many people leaving their professions across the board, and what everyone keeps calling the great resignation, employee morale is more important than ever. And what are some ways that you've worked to improve officer morale to try and, you know, keep from people leaving the profession?
Well, I'm in a unique position because many of my officers have had prior careers in law enforcement. Many have retired and have come in to extend their working careers. And so I have individuals from all over the county, from nearly every policing agency that works for schools police. And for me, morale is somewhat tricky because what may be good morale for me may not be good for the next person. So it is what I think that person defines it to be. But I think that one thing that I found through my career is that it's important to show the people that you work with, your teammates, that you care about them. And I think once they know that you care about them and that you're going to be there for them, that they will work better, and they'll have not a better attitude, but their approach to their job will be more welcoming. And as long as you're there for them and speak with them, and I've never asked any persons that I work with to do something that I was not willing to do myself, and they know that. You'll always see me in my uniform. I advocate for them. Keep in mind, and I'm not certain how familiar you are with the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting that occurred on Valentine's Day of 2018. I retired on January 31st of 2018 from St. Petersburg, and I started work here on May 1st of 2018. So when I first came to the schools police, my thought was, I love mentoring. I'm going to have my officers up their game as far as mentoring and talking with these students and helping them with their career choices and showing them that they can make it. But unfortunately, with the shooting, everything switched, and it went from the mentoring aspect to safety and making sure that we have school hardening and that we have active assailant buttons that you could push and it would activate alarms and lock doors, those types of things. So we use a lot of technology to basically bring us up. So the organization, when I first came in, was 35 people. And now I'm just under 190 of individuals that we've had to hire. So it was a somewhat of a sea change of getting the officers to realize that you're no longer a small school agency. You're one of the larger agencies in Pinellas County. And so it's very important that I advocate for them, make sure they have the tools that they need. And again, when I say that the district's job is to educate children, that is so true. My job is to make sure that the district also understands that in order to get highly capable officers, you can't hire an officer as quickly as you can hire a teacher. So they're not that expendable. So when we get them, we have to keep them. So I advocate for them. And I think that in the past that there may have been a feeling that they didn't have that advocacy level that they have from me. And I like to be approachable. You have to be approachable to people. And I want to give them the tools to accomplish the missions that we have in front of us. And that's one of the main goals, get them the tools, change the uniforms for them, got them more comfortable, more practical uniforms, updated our cruisers. And again, keeping in mind that there's a balance for me to make sure that I'm not taking money from the classroom. So I've come up with some innovative ways to upgrade our fleet and those types of things. So, and then I just say, finally, I try to be honest, and I will be honest with them on issues that come up, on concerns that they have, and most especially on their performance. I try to grow successors. And so if I'm being dishonest or less than honest with them on a deficiency that they have, I'm not doing them any good. I'm doing them more harm. So I like to make sure that I'm very accurate on giving them feedback, both positively and negatively, to work to better them. And then finally, I would say, I like to know a little bit about each one of my employees and about their families. And the reason I like to do that is that if you show them that you can care about them other than a police officer, and they're just not a person in a uniform filling a spot that you need to fill, that goes a long way. And when you know one of your officers' kids' name, you know what grade they're in, you know what they're doing, and you check on them, you ask them periodically how they're doing. That goes a long way with morale. And morale It isn't always money. It isn't raises because, like I said, if you get a $50 raise, we're going to wonder why it wasn't $80. So it's just treating people like people and how you would want to be treated if you were a subordinate and you were being led by another leader.
Absolutely. And one thing I was thinking of when you said how, the Stoneman Douglas shooting kind of changed the focus to hardening, I feel like the pandemic has kind of shifted that a little bit back to mentoring with students' mental health issues and kids struggling emotionally. So hopefully the pandemic, helps build relationships again between students and police and people just kind of connecting on a human level with, shared struggles that so many of us have gone through during the pandemic.
Absolutely. And I'm certain that it will.
Yeah. And speaking of mentorship, there was one photo in your Director of the Year nomination submission that really stood out to me. And it was you standing in front of a group of students and you were showing them how to tie ties. And can you speak to that photo a little bit and its significance and importance to you?
Sure. That's part of my mentoring group, Men in the Making. Men in the Making started out as the right field, right as in if you're writing a letter, and feel like a baseball field. And so in St. Petersburg in 2011, we had 3 officers killed in the span of 30 days. And the last one was a very close friend of mine. And he was killed by a 17-year-old teen. So myself and Reverend Kenny Irby met, and we decided what can we do to impact these children and make a difference so that we're not losing officers on one hand and kids aren't ruining their lives on the other. So we came up with this program, and the right field morphed into what we call Men in the Making. And our goal is to give kids experiences or take them on experiential type events and then have them write about it. So we're looking at them from an exposure standpoint, but also academically to make sure that they get those skills. So one of the things that we do is that we teach them how to tie a necktie, because you'd be amazed at the number of adults who don't know how to tie a necktie. And so we don't want our kids to be hampered in any way. So if you're going to a job interview and you need to dress up, or if you're going on a first date and you want to impress your girlfriend, we want you to be able to tie a tie, because once you learn how to do it, you got it. And so we don't, just like you're learning your multiplication tables and learning the parts of a sentence and being able to write a paragraph, once they get those foundational knowledges of how to do that, they always have it. And so those are the types of things we try to do. We teach them, we take them to a restaurant called Grazzi's. It's an Italian restaurant. We teach them etiquette, where to place your napkin based upon what you're eating, which utensil to use when. We teach them the Heimlich maneuver. So it's just a number of activities that we do with them. We've taken them to the Veterans Cemetery and talked about veterans and contributions to the United States. And Fine Arts Museum, where after we left, the museum wanted to have some of our students as docents. So we've exposed upwards of 500 children since 2011. And we have people playing Division I football. We have musicians in the orchestra. We have every branch of the military that you can think of. And we have everyday people that are young men that have become adults through this program. So that's very, very important to me. And again, as you've mentioned, with the pandemic and with our children coming back, and our arrest numbers are going up. The activities with kids engaging with fights and other behaviors have gone up because they haven't been used to interacting with one another again. So it's very, very important that we get together and we work on correcting that problem.
I'd be willing to bet that you've had, grown men come back and say that they can credit that program to a lot of their success, or at least it's something that they look back on and have really fond memories of, and something that was helpful to them.
We had one, and we do, without a doubt. We had one gentleman who, Trey Marie, his mother unfortunately passed away his senior year of high school. And we promised him that we're going to be there for him. So he ended up signing with Indiana University to play football. We were all at his signing day. I mean, we had 8 officers there at his signing day, and we promised him that whenever we could, we'd go see him. So I've seen him in Indiana. I've seen him play at Florida International, and I've seen him play now at Towson University in Maryland. So we're there, and we tell them, hey, we're not, once you turn 18, once you become an adult, it gets tougher. So we have cars, we have a driver's license, we have gas, we can come to where you are. So don't think that we're shutting down on you. So we impact kids from one end of the county to the other. And that's the beauty of that, the mentoring program. And the other component of that is that now we have a Women in the Making program where we have female volunteers working with our female students, and these children doing the same thing to help them avoid some of the pitfalls that I know are out there for them.
No, that's wonderful. And it might be what we were just talking about, but is there an achievement or an initiative that you're most proud of as police chief, and why are you most proud of that?
Well, as police chief again, and I am extremely proud of the fact that I've been able to mentor and have impact on the lives of kids. But there is just a few things that I am very proud of. I'm proud of my working relationship with the school board and with Dr. Michael Grego and his staff, because they have been, in my 4 years working with the district, they have been very accommodating, and they've listened, and I haven't always had things go the way that I have wanted them to, but I know it's not from a lack of careful thought. But going back to Marjorie Stoneman, when we first decided that there was a need, or the law mandated that you have an armed person on each one of our campuses, when I first got here, within 4 months, I had to find 86 people to train them in firearms retention, safety, and teach them how to go into our elementary schools and protect our kids on a daily basis. So again, growing an organization from 35 people to 190, that took a lot of work, a lot of planning, and then also to couple in all our technology advances that we've had. Right now, if we push an alarm, the maps come up of the school. You can get a camera, you can basically through artificial intelligence, if you're looking for a polka dot shirt, you can type that in and the cameras will basically show you polka dot shirts. We can unlock and lock all our doors at our schools remotely. And so there's just a number of things that we've been able to do through that Marjorie Stoneman Douglas program that's basically changed the state of Florida. There's not a day that goes by that we're not doing something that deals with Marjorie Stoneman and making sure that all our kids are safe, and that what the shooter in Broward County did, it doesn't happen anywhere else. And then the other thing that I'm really proud of, and I know we're about to run out of time, is that we have a number of foster students in Pinellas County, and our CPI investigators would go, and sometimes they get moved from one location to the other. And what we found out is that all their personal belongings that they have, they're put in garbage bags, and they have to take those garbage bags and stick them in the trunk of a car and go from one place to the other. But I'm proud, through the Pinellas County Standards Council, we're able to bring this to them. And now we are actually, as a matter of fact, next Wednesday, we're actually doing the distribution, where we've been able to get what we call tiny totes. And there are backpacks that are filled with toiletries and other things, and that allow them for, they can put their clothing and all their belongings into those backpacks. And we distribute those out to the different agencies. So when they get into those situations, they're able to give that to the students and be able to help them get through that transition. So try to add a little dignity to a difficult situation for our kids. And then, with the threats that we have coming into school, we work very closely with Sandy Hook Promise, and we also have Fortify Florida. But we've handled 9,600 threats or suicide ideations or bullying type complaints. And we've saved, like when I tell you we've saved lives, we've actually saved lives of our children to go out. So I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish in these few years. And I can tell you that as time changes, the needs in um, um, our goals and our focus is going to change on different things. But I'm so happy with the district and with the officers and our school resource officers, our campus activity monitors, and our guardians that will be able to meet whatever that challenge is.
I was thinking when you were mentioning the foster children, I imagine a lot of those children, school is the most consistent thing in their life that they can rely on, is going to be in there day in and day out. And I think the fact that they know that they have someone like you and your department that cares about them just makes that a much more special place for them and kind of, a safe space.
I always have time to talk with the child and to try and help them through whatever issue they're having. And my goal and my desire is that through the uniqueness of my position and the agency that I have, I'm able to select people who are similarly have a similar mindset, that they really, really care about children. They really care about the future, and that they'll do whatever they can to help them and to guide them in a positive fashion.